has just made it. Zimbabwe thanks inventor Maxwell Chikumbutso. Africa made 30,000 self-powering cars in groundbreaking technology that doesn't rely on fuel. Chud's groundbreaking. He calls it a self-powering electric vehicle. This game-changing invention will disrupt the industry, especially for electric car giants like Tesla, with billions invested in batteries and charging infrastructure. How will Elon Musk take the news, and will this new tech shoot Africa to industry? Join us as we reveal the Zimbabwean invention. Empire self-powering tech revolution from Zimbabwe. Africa is stepping into an era of car manufacturing, and its happiest people expected for years. The continent has been seen as cars are mostly imported, with only a few countries vehicles locally, but that story is changing. Countries like Nigeria, Ghana, Kenya, and South Africa have significantly progressed in local automobile production, but something extraordinary is happening in Zimbabwe that could completely change transportation in Africa and world. Catch is that Elon Musk is happy about it. You see, while most of the world is pushing for electric vehicles, Africa doesn't even have charging infrastructure. That is scarce. Electricity supply is unreliable in many areas, and the cost of lithium batteries remains high, so the Zimbabweans up that will blow your mind. Keep watching to find out. Since there is limited electricity and weak infrastructure, Africans have found it to embrace electric cars, but if there was a way to power without fuel or even plug, Maxwell Chikumbutso came up with. He has created without gas or even tradition. Instead, it relies on energy waves. At first, the idea of a car powered by radio waveable, but this is technology, he says, converts radio into energy. The key to this invention lies in revolutionary micronic energy device, a system radio frequency continuous electrical energy. Well, it's quite simple. The car generate power with access to the need for external or electric vehicles, which require extensive infrastructure. Completely, this invention will change of African have always depended on fuel in many African nations, which drives transportation costs expensive for people to move around, even for those considering electric vehicles. Charging outside of major cities and the high cost of electricity can owning it. But if cars could power themselves, all of these concerns affecting charging or the high cost of batteries aside from personal vehicles, this would transform public transportation in most African cities. Mini and taxis are the backbone of urban mobility. Vehicles operate daily, consuming large amounts of fuel and contributing to pollution. If self-powered technology were applied to public transport, it could drastically lower costs. Operators and passengers alike, taxi drivers wouldn't need to spend money on fuel, but fares could drop. Those EVs are well known for saving air, significantly reduced. That's not all the benefit. To rural areas has always been access gas, because they are far from nation's farm, getting their produce to markets and sometimes long distances to school due to a lack transportation. A powered vehicle could change cars. Even the most isolated regions without fuel or electricity would become accessible to a much larger population and an economy. Africa spends billions of dollars each year on fuel imports. A shift towards self-powered vehicles could redirect that money into local economies, instead manufacturing such cars locally would also create jobs, boost technological innovation, and position Africa as scalable. It could even turn Africa into an exporter of self-powered vehicles. which Elon doesn't want to see. Remember, Musk has poured billions into electric vehicles and infrastructure. He believes that Tesla will dominate the future of mobility and clean energy, but Africa's breakthrough in alternative energy-powered cars like Maxwell Chikumbutso Micronic is challenges that vision we have. Invented in Zimbabwe, a microsonic energy device the scale at which this tech will change the world will see, and that's where we are headed. Maxwell's invention and the rest of the world. For starters, Africa has been flooded with used cars. For decades, vehicles on the continent's roads started their lives in Europe, Asia, or North America before being shipped off to African. Let's face it, these second-hand imports have been an affordable option for many, but they come with problems such as high maintenance costs, lack of spare parts, environmental concerns due to older high-emission engines. But Maxwell's invention shows that the tide is turning. Africa is no longer just a consumer of foreign-made vehicles, it's becoming a manufacturer in its own right. A new era is coming where African nations designing and building cars tailored to their needs. Industries and aside from Zimbabwe, other countries have emerged as leaders in this transformation. Take Morocco for a large vehicle manufacturing industry and exports cars to Europe and beyond with production plants from international giants like Renault and Stellantis. Also assembles cars, produces parts and components. The country's strategic location and trade agreements have made it a key hub for European car exports. Then comes South Africa. South Africa has a strong industrial base, and major brands like BMW, Volkswagen, and Toyota have operated manufacturing plants there for years. Export vehicles to different parts of the world, but beyond foreign manufacturers, local brands like Mazda are beginning to emerge, aiming to create cars specifically African conditions. South Africa's combination of skilled labor, established infrastructure, and government incentives, automotive industry thriving, and positioned it as a regional leader. If you feel inspired by Morocco and South Africa, the next country we want to reveal will blow your mind. Nigeria, Africa's most populous country, is another rising force. Vehicle manufacturing with a rapidly growing middle class and an increasing demand for locally made products. Nigeria has taken bold steps to reduce dependence on imports. Companies like Nissan vehicle manufacturing produce cars, buses, and trucks designed to fit the African consumer. These big buses you're seeing here lined up, this is where they were all produced. By focusing on durability, affordability, and easy maintenance, these vehicles address the unique challenges of African roads, which often include rough terrains and extreme weather conditions. The Nigerian government has also introduced policies to encourage local production, reducing tariffs on locally made vehicles while imposing higher duties on imported used cars. What sets African-made vehicles apart? Their design, which considers local conditions, unlike many imported cars that struggle with poor road infrastructure, extreme heat, and inconsistent quality. Vehicles produced in Africa are built for these challenges. For example, many locally made cars have reinforced suspensions to handle rough and unpaved roads. Engines are designed efficiently on the fuel type available in African markets, reducing on expensive imported fuel grades. Some manufacturers also incorporate solar-powered features, addressing energy challenges in regions with common fuel and electricity shortages. The shift to manufacturing vehicles locally has created masses, from factory workers assembling cars to engineers designing new models, and business owners distributing vehicles across the continent. Thousands of direct and indirect jobs are being created, providing opportunities for young Africans to develop engineering, mechanics, and high-tech manufacturing skills. But there is no guarantee that Zimbabwe's self-driven cars will take over the market soon, and you are about to find out why. Keep watching. Challenges with Zimbabwe's self-driven cars. Zimbabwe is making bold moves, but like any revolution, challenges come with progress. While self-powering and locally manufactured vehicles are shaking up the market, the journey ahead is far from smooth as the world moves toward cleaner energy. Africa is offering multiple options. Electric vehicles have gained traction with companies in South Africa and Nigeria that are working on local production, but EVs come with challenges such as expensive lithium-ion batteries and a lack of charging stations in many parts of the continent. This is where Self-powered cars like those developed in Zimbabwe provide a groundbreaking alternative using radio waves or renewable energy sources. These vehicles don't need charging altogether. Meanwhile, African countries focus on biofuels using crops like sugarcane and gatria to produce cleaner fuel alternatives with an abundance of natural resources. Africa has the potential to lead in sustainable vehicle technology without relying on foreign energy sources. The question is whether governments and private investors will push hard enough to make these options mainstream. The good news is that Africa's auto industry isn't isolated. Global automakers are beginning to recognize the potential of the continent's growing market. European and Asian companies are partnering with African manufacturers to set up plants and production lines we mentioned.